Now, today marks China's first National Ecology Day as the nation moves towards the creation of an ecological civilization. Welcome to our special program on China's long-standing environmental conservation efforts. And in today's program, we look back at the country's ecological restoration and the challenges that are yet to be faced. Chinese President Xi Jinping has urged the whole society to vigorously promote and practice the concept that lucid waters and lush mountains are invaluable assets. He made the remarks as the country celebrates its first National Ecology Day. President Xi highlighted that ecological conservation is of vital importance to the nation, calling it a major political issue bearing on the mission of the CPC, as well as a major social issue that bears upon public well-being. Xi Jinping said that in building a modern socialist country in all respects, efforts should be made to maintain strategic resolve in advancing the ecological progress and promoting high-quality development in sync with high-standard protection. Now, President Xi's instructions were outlined by Vice Premier Ding Xuexiang at an event marking China's National Ecology Day held in Huzhou City, Zhejiang Province. CGTN's Gao Ang reports.
Under the theme of lucid waters and lush mountains are invaluable assets, China's first National Ecology Day unfolded in East China's Zhejiang Province. At the opening ceremony, Chinese Vice Premier Ding Xuexiang read important instructions from Chinese President Xi Jinping. President Xi urged the whole society to promote and act as role models in practicing the concept that lucid waters and lush mountains are invaluable assets. The instructions also call for the simultaneous promotion of high-quality development and high-level protection, the green and low-carbon transformation of production methods and lifestyles, and the advancement of modernization featuring human-nature harmonious coexistence. Officials from the National Development and Reform Commission and other ministries also elaborated on the important achievements in the construction of ecological civilization, as well as efforts to achieve carbon neutrality. Officials say China's first National Ecology Day aims to enhance public awareness and actions to protect the ecological environment while promoting low-carbon development and green transition. Gao Ang, CGTN, Huzhou, Zhejiang Province.
And now Gao Ang joins us live for some more on this very special day. Well, Gao Ang, what's been happening there in Huzhou on the first National Ecology Day?
Yes, Mama, I was at the opening ceremony of the National Ecology Day this morning, and according to President Xi Jinping's instruction, he urged the whole society to promote and act as role models in practicing the concept that lucid waters and lush mountains are invaluable assets, as you just mentioned. And this is actually very important. It's also the theme of this year's event. And according to the instructions, we should focus on promoting high-quality development and high-level protection simultaneously, and also comprehensively strengthen the construction of a beautiful China. And Vice Premier Ding also stressed promoting the diversity and stability of the ecosystem and developing new energy and clean energy, as well as accelerating the green and low-carbon transformation of the development model. So these have all underscored China's huge achievements in green development over the past decade. The country has established the world's largest carbon trading market back in 2021 and also has significantly reduced carbon emissions intensity. So also China's new energy vehicle production and sales have remained first globally for 8 consecutive years. And the total installed capacity of renewable energy power generation has exceeded 1.3 billion kilowatts, with wind power and photovoltaic installations ranking first around the world. So this morning, officials from the country's top economic planner, the NDRC, and other ministries joined together to announce the major and important achievements of constructing the eco-civilization. And during the afternoon, officials from various cities across the country, scholars, and representatives from enterprises also shared their experience of the construction of eco-civilization and promoting low-carbon development. Mama.
Thanks so much, our Gao Ang, for us from Huzhou. Well, for years, China has been promoting green development with ecological conservation. On August 15, 2005, President Xi Jinping, who was then the party secretary of Zhejiang province, put forward the concept of lucid waters and lush mountains are invaluable assets. He was visiting Yuchun village in the mountainous area of Zhejiang, where the environment was deteriorated due to the overexploitation of mineral resources. The village then pursued a new development path featuring ecological conservation and economic growth. Facing unprecedented challenges in global environmental governance, the Chinese president also called for the global community to act with a sense of responsibility and unity and work together to foster a community of life for man and nature. He made the remarks during the Leaders Summit on Climate in April 2021. China has taken a series of major policy measures to protect the ecosystem, including the ecological protection red line, the establishment of national parks and nature reserves, and the systemic protection, restoration, and control of mountains, rivers, forests, farmland, lakes, grasslands, and deserts across the country. China has also set up 2 carbon goals to address global warming, to reach carbon peak by 2030 and achieve carbon neutrality by 2060. So China has put nearly 1/3 of its land off limits to development. That's according to a blue paper released by the Ministry of Natural Resources on Tuesday. About 3.19 million square kilometers has been protected, including more than 3 million square kilometers of land encompassing national parks and nature reserves designed to preserve natural heritage, endangered animals, and unique landscapes. Around 150,000 square kilometers of inland waters and coastal areas, including wetland environments, have also been protected. Now, the total area of both environments fall in line with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which include the aim to protect at least 30% of Earth's land and ocean areas by 2030. And to further discuss this, we are pleased to be joined by Mr. Shenyi Yang, Director of the Inclusive Development Research Center. Great to have you with us on our show, Mr. Shen. So, Chinese President Xi Jinping has urged the whole society to practice some core concept of China's environment push. Help us understand its role, the complexity behind this philosophy, and of course the role it plays in China's ecological civilization.
Well, thank you for having me. I think this is really a very ambitious target. So to make sure China is on its way for green development. Second, so we also think this is also a great investment for China. So not just the public investment of the public budget, but also I think China has been finding the way for kind of, private sector and public sector partnership, and also have business model to make this green development moving forward. So, and I'm very sure that, with the strong willingness of this, Chinese government, and also the green investment atmosphere, we have seen a lot of, this green financing schemes undergoing in China. And as well as people's awareness, I think this target will make great success. Yeah, that's my opinion.
Sure, and Mr. Shen, as we mentioned just now, according to a recent blue paper, over 300 million square kilometers of various environments in China have been protected to ensure biodiversity and ecosystem health. How would you evaluate China's efforts in establishing these red lines?
Well, this is, I think this is unprecedented, action I have ever seen in the whole world. So we are talking about 1/3 of China's total 9.6 million square kilometer. So this region is much more much bigger than many China's neighbor countries. So that also means China will be putting a lot of efforts, not only this legal enabling environment, but also budget and the other, preparation for this very difficult target to be achieved. Please remind, China's economic situation is still not very stable, and a lot of Chinese local government are still, in shortage of budget. But we still see a big plan like this is ongoing. I think this is an effort that we haven't seen in any other country of the whole world, and will be contribute a lot for the climate change mitigation and also the global efforts of environment protection. So this is great.
Thank you for your analysis, Mr. Shen Yiyang. Appreciate your time. And now let's take a short break. Now, when we come back, we'll focus on China's green development commitment. Stay with us. Welcome back to our special coverage. China proposed the dual carbon goals in September 2020 during a virtual address by Chinese President Xi Jinping to the United Nations General Assembly. Now, the two goals are to achieve carbon peak by 2030 and to achieve carbon neutrality by 2060. China has taken extensive measures to achieve these goals, including utilizing more renewable energy and, of course, to efficiently conserving energy and implementing carbon emissions trading systems. The results have been impressive, with a reduction of over 36% in carbon dioxide emissions per unit of GDP in the past decade. Additionally, non-fossil energy consumption has reached 17.5% in 2022, marking an almost 8% increase over the same period. And China has also collaborated with other nations to combat climate change globally. China has played pivotal roles in the Paris Agreement, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, and also in other international climate negotiations. In addition to this, China has established partnerships with many other countries, including the United States and several African countries, and that is to promote sustainable development and clean energy like solar power and wind energy. So China has extensively poured resources and made dedicated efforts toward green development, but it is not always an easy task. The Yangtze River Economic Belt, for example, that's a region connected by the longest river in China, is one of the country's core economic powerhouses with a dense population. But the region has faced difficulties in pursuing strong economic development without sacrificing its environment. Let's now take a look at how Lake Taihu is balancing this challenge.
Lake Taihu in the Yangtze River Delta of Jiangsu Province is one of China's largest freshwater lakes. It's an important source of drinking water for nearby cities, but protecting biodiversity here is a constant struggle. An increasing population and booming economic development in the 1980s and 1990s pushed toxic waste into the lake, causing it to become polluted. It got so bad that in May 2007, Lake Taihu was hit by an outbreak of cyanobacteria or algae, which contaminated the water supply of one of the cities, Wuxi. The central government began a long process to fix the problem. All water treatment plants were asked to do everything they could to clean the water. They had to increase their water supply as well by adding a pipeline to get water from the Yangtze River. This was to provide residents with another source of water should such a crisis happen again. Officials dredged the lake to remove all external pollutants. They also ordered the mass closure of chemical plants that dumped waste into the lake. Factories too had to comply with pollution standards. Those which couldn't meet the deadline were forced to close or relocate. This steel and iron factory in Wuxi was one of them. In 2012, the deserted factory was converted into one of the world's largest film studios, Hollywood.
At the time, its output was close to 10 billion yuan. Later, due to its high energy consumption, the government relocated it. The entire area was planned for cultural creativity, film and television, and the software industries. After relocation, most of the staff moved to the new factory, while some remained.
Today, as you can see, the water at Lake Taihu is crystal clear. The government continues its efforts to ensure clean drinking water. A 10-year fishing ban on the Yangtze River also ensures that fishes are protected. It's a perfect example of protecting biodiversity within an urban landscape. This is where the city meets nature. Kasturi Manikam, CGTN, Wuxi, Jiangsu Province.
Well, Wuhan is a major transportation hub and industrial center on the Yangtze River in central China. Its thriving industries include iron and steel, cars, optics, and electronics. The city has also prioritized sustainable development and ecological protection. Our reporter Huang Yichang is there and joins us now for some more. Well, Yichang, good to see you. Tell us more about Wuhan's efforts to balance development with ecological protection, and of course, in what ways have these changed the city and the surrounding environment?
Well, yes, Mangmang, Wuhan is a city located along the middle reaches of the Yangtze River. It's also known as the city of 1,000 lakes. But some 3 decades ago, many lakes were felt to create more spaces for urban construction, which inevitably causing severe damage to its ecosystem. And Wuhan used to be a heavy manufacturing base, also causing a great deal of pollution. Since the local government launched a campaign to restore and protect the city's bodies of water, residents in Wuhan have witnessed significant progress. For example, behind me is the South Lake located in downtown Wuhan and surrounded by densely populated residential areas. Since the 1980s, the rapid development of industries and residential buildings around the region resulted in the direct discharge of a large amount of industrial and domestic wastewater, gradually deteriorating the water quality. Since 2018, the city has attached great importance to the remediation of the South Lake's water. Some of these efforts have been focused on issues of land, because early housing constructions didn't separate rainwater from sewage system. So wastewater that shouldn't have flowed into the lake ended up mixing with rainwater and being discharged into the lake. To address these, over $130 million in investment was used to develop a rainwater and sewage diversion projects, reconstruction of over 200 residential compounds, pipelines in this area, and sediment dredging and technology to monitoring this system have also been implemented to restore a healthy aquatic ecosystem and guarantee cleaner water for both residents and aquatic lives. And after several years of dedicated efforts, the water quality has significantly improved. You can see behind me the water surface is as clear as mirror, and also the plants are thriving as well. And this is just one of many examples that the city is exploring to restore the ecology of its diverse rivers and lake, and also these efforts are part of the broader drive of the country's drive to transform the Yangtze River economic belt to the country's main
green development goal and also the
Sure.
high quality development.
Thank you so
Back
much,
to
Wang
you.
Yichang, giving us a close-up look at Wuhan's initiatives. And now to take that conversation further, let me bring in two of my guests. Zhang Yimo, a priority project coordinator at WWF China in Shanghai, and environmental expert Winston K.H. Cho, joining us via Skype from Bangkok. Great to have you both on our show. So why don't we begin with you, Mr. Zhang? Given China's goal of carbon neutrality by 2060, what role can development and ecological protection initiatives along the Yangtze River and coastal area play in helping attain that goal? And of course, what are some of the challenges that need to be overcome?
Yeah, so high quality development means a paradigm where human and nature can thrive together. Therefore, I think there are several things that people can consider. The first is awarenesses. Conservationists like me used to receive philanthropic donations and consider ourselves as nature defenders, which separate nature and development. Now we should be aware that there are not only compromises, but also harmonic and reliable solutions between them. Take WWF China as an example. We just revamped our ocean program into a sustainable blue economy priority project, trying to mainstream concepts like green and blue finance and reduce harmful subsidies. We will shift the economic drivers toward a more nature-positive direction. Second is the creation of enabling environment. To translate the high-quality development into day-to-day practices require tangible tools, and we are forging them. We are developing a blue taxonomy with which the governmental institutes can identify sustainable ocean-related industries and promote them. We are also developing a sustainable fishery project inventory. This is like a list of projects which are likely to be sustainable. We hope investors can choose the profitable ones that interest them. The third is the measurement. We used to assess development by GDPs, but high-quality development should also consider the changes of ecosystem services. Last year, WWF published the China Blue Economy Report and evaluated the ocean assets of China as 54 trillion RMB. This is still a rough figure, but it is an invaluable attempt. Smaller scale but fine accounting methodologies can be developed at provincial or local levels, or in specific areas like the Greater Bay, so that people can measure whether the development is of high quality. So these are the things people can consider in the new development model.
All right, and now let's hear some more perspectives from Mr. Cho from a Southeast Asian perspective. How do China's policies for development and ecological protection along the Yangtze River compare to perhaps similar projects in other countries or regions, and what lessons can be learned from these comparisons?
Great, thank you. Yeah, China's approach towards ecological preservation and high-quality development along the Yangtze River is, like many of its other environmental policies, ambitious and relatively impressive in its rollout. They've implemented stringent conservation initiatives, including the Green Shield operation, to protect biodiversity and restore the region's ecological health. These efforts have combined with sustainable industrial practices to ensure that economic growth comes at less of an expense of the environment. The country's approach towards the Yangtze River pivots around green development, which is effectively seen in the strict regulations implemented to control pollution and the efforts to restore the river's ecology. These initiatives have resulted in substantial cleanup of the river and an improvement in overall water quality, an impressive feat demonstrating that ecological progression can complement economic development. When we look at other nations and regions, it isn't easy to compare because of the differences in scale. China is very big. For instance, let's consider the European Union's Water Framework Directive. This policy presents a similar approach, focusing on improving the quality of water bodies across the continent. It showcases comprehensive management of water resources and has successfully set high benchmarks for water quality. However, the scale of China's efforts along the Yangtze River, given the river's geographic extent, is incomparable because of the length of the river and the population that it serves. In the United States, the Clean Water Act aims to protect the country's water bodies from pollution. However, the focus on ecological protection isn't as integrated as in China's approach towards the Yangtze. This is because China's strategy deals with pollution and tackles the preservation and growth of aquatic life, contributing significantly to biodiversity. So in addition, it's also essential to look at the economic benefits of these initiatives in China. The Yangtze River is one of the most economically significant rivers in the world. and its conservation efforts have been pivotal in promoting sustainable industrial growth. I think lessons from China's advances in river protection and ecological preservation are especially important for developing countries, as they are the most vulnerable victims of climate change. A lot of developing countries in Asia, Africa, and South America are likely more similar to China in their economic development stages and suffer from environmental impacts from industrial growth in much the same way China has in recent decades. So they have a lot to learn from environmental policies China has implemented.
All right, Mr. Winston Cho and Mr. Zhang Yimo, thank you so much for your analysis. Appreciate your time. So China, as one of the most biodiverse countries in the world, also faces a range of environmental challenges such as soil erosion, dust storms, and habitat loss. To address all these issues, the country has implemented various measures over the years to protect and restore its natural ecosystems. And for more, my colleague Deng Chunying joins us here in the studio. Chunying, good to see you. Walk us through some of the efforts in this area.
Well, thank you, Mama. And over the past 10 years, we've witnessed a rapid increase in the country's forest coverage, first of all, jumping from 21% to 24%. And more than a quarter of new green space in the world over the past decade came from China, which is incredible, and ranking first in the world for its contribution to global greening. And in the past year, China's brought its total wetland area to over 56 million hectares, ranking fourth in the world. And the country's policymakers have also launched various greening projects targeting areas where deserts have threatened the local ecological environment and narrowed people's living space. As of the end of 2022, the country completed desertification prevention and control missions on over 20 million hectares of land. China has also established over 41 national comprehensive demonstration zones for desertification control and 99 national desert parks, forging a science-based ecological barrier along certain regions in northern China that are prone to sandstorms. And the country has also pledged to build the world's largest national park system, selecting over 49 candidate areas across the country that cover 10% of the country's total territorial area. And they include 5 already established national parks, 2 land and sea integration areas, and 3 sea areas. Well, thanks to these efforts, China has become the world's fastest improving countries in terms of air quality. Well, that's according to Clean Air Asia, which is an environmental NGO. And their research shows that China's annual average PM 2.5 concentration has fallen by about 57% over the past 10 years. And the number of highly polluted days have dropped by over 92%. However, despite all these achievements and efforts, there's still a long journey ahead to achieve the ambitious nation's 2030 carbon peak and 2060 carbon neutrality goals. That's all for me. Back to you, Mama.
Yeah, certainly China has come a long way, and then there's still a long way ahead. Thanks so much, Xunying, for that. Located in northwest China, Ningxia is a testament to China's desertification efforts. The region was once engulfed by frequent, blinding sandstorms. But now, after decades of pushing back desertification, the northwestern region proudly calls itself an oasis in the sand. CGTN's Jiao Yang visits Ningxia to see how a green mirage became reality.
This is how people cross the Yellow River right up until the turn of this century, and keeping us afloat are these sheepskin balloons. Now, we're in Ningxia. It's one of China's smallest provinces, but what it lacks in land area, it more than makes up for with these dramatic landscapes.
Yet Ningxia has stopped its wetlands and lakes from shrinking, and you find them in the most incongruous settings. Now, this oasis wouldn't be possible without the generations of folk who fought back the dunes. In 2010, nearly 60% of the region's territory was vulnerable to desertification. Sand and wind laid waste to the land, made worse by human factors. Just ask Tang Ximing, a man who devoted the better half of his life to overcoming the sand.
你像以前呢，一刮痧以后呢，到处是沙子。第二天早上起来，有些沙子把那个煤都给封了，人都出不来了。我说呀，这个地方太可怕了。
In the 50s, a new project spurred action. Connecting the far-flung frontiers of China, the Baotou to Lanzhou Railway was vital. 60 kilometers of it ran right through the Tengger Desert. When wind blew, tracks vanished. The solution: straw checkerboards, planting wheat straws in 1 meter squares and sprinkling seeds, laying a giant net that fixes sand and, importantly, restores vegetation. To Tang and his team, each surviving blade of grass is worth celebrating. 6 decades now and counting, on the rim of the Tengger, fresh seeds are still sown every year to reinforce the ecological barrier. From being pushed out by the sand to pushing back, and now finding an equilibrium. After all, what's an oasis without its desert? Jiaoyang, CGTN, from the Yellow River to the deserts of Ningxia.
Well, China has always been working to protect its biodiversity. The country has recognized the importance of protecting biodiversity and has implemented several efforts to promote conservation. Authorities say the country has effectively protected 90% of terrestrial ecosystem types and 74% of key state-protected wildlife populations. More than 300 rare and endangered wildlife populations have been restored. The population of giant pandas in the wild has grown from 1,114 to 1,864 over the past 40 years, and the crested ibis population has increased from only 7 to over 5,000. The Asian elephant population in the wild has increased from 180 to about 300 at present, and the Hainan gibbon population in the wild has increased from less than 10 in 2 groups to 35 in 5 groups. China has supported international efforts in biodiversity protection worldwide. The country was among the first to sign and ratify the Convention on Biological Diversity, and it has fulfilled the obligations stipulated in this convention. In recent years, China has also cooperated with other countries on biodiversity protection. For example, the China-Laos cross-border biodiversity joint conservation area has reached 200,000 hectares, effectively protecting rare and endangered species such as the Asian elephants and their habitats. The Mombasa-Nairobi Railway in Kenya is equipped with large animal passages, bridges, and culverts to ensure the free movement of wildlife. And now to further discuss this, let me bring in Zhu Chunchuan, head of the China Nature Initiatives at the World Economic Forum. Thank you so much, Mr. Zhu, for joining us on our special program. So help us understand the significance of protection and restoration of biodiversity.
Okay, thank you. And biodiversity is a human being's every existence. We dependent on healthy ecosystem for our food, air, water, energy, shelter, and climate. As you just mentioned, through the successful conservation of giant panda, for example, not only saving the population of wild giant panda and also benefit the local communities and also the regional economic development. And in the past years, like we enjoy like air quality improvement and water quality improvement and many other like examples. So nature and biodiversity loss have far-reaching consequences, damage the ecosystem, not only affecting economic development, but also accelerate climate change. So we've been experiencing this summer of the extreme hot and also the heavy like rain, flood, and the natural disasters. So this undermine not only like the social like safety and affect the local communities, and also affect the food security and put people and communities at high risk. So moreover, like nature restoration and biodiversity conservation are integral to China's economic development transition. As one of the most biodiverse country in the world, China has urgent need and unique opportunity to shift its economic activity toward a nature positive trajectory. So that will play a leading role in the world. So according to World Economic Forum's new economic report, transition to a nature positive model in three socio-economic systems in China could create $1.9 trillion in annual business value and create 8 million new job opportunity by 2030.
And certainly the importance of protection and restoration of biodiversity can never be underestimated. Thank you so much for your analysis and expertise, Mr. Zhu. Appreciate it. All right, now we're going to take a short break now, but when we come back, we'll take a look at what other news making headlines across China.
We are all connected. Across borders, across continents, connected by ideas, a shared humanity. Stay connected.
From the 1,035-kilometer railway linking China to Laos, facilitating connectivity and boosting economic growth in the landlocked Southeast Asian country, to the joint China-Saudi Arabia photovoltaic project to harness renewable energy in the oil-dependent kingdom. The Belt and Road Initiative has come a long way since it was first proposed in 2013, complementing the development strategies of partner countries and building on their existing strengths. The Belt and Road Initiative, linking the world in the pursuit of common prosperity for humanity.